I never thought of becoming an entrepreneur at any point of time. You're just mentoring people, dividing their work, monitoring them. Until and unless you're going to face this, nobody is going to help. Also, make sure that your team's morale is always certain level so that they will be with you. They are ready to work with you.
Welcome to Techzila. This is Alfia, and with me today, we have Mr. Binu Bhasuran from Elixr Labs. He is the CEO, and he's an incredible leader who has experience for over 20 years. And what makes him special is that he is really passionate about using technology in transforming healthcare system around the world. So let's hear from him. So, have you always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and how did that journey happen?
I never thought of becoming an entrepreneur at any point of time. But I wanted to become an executive. That was for sure. But getting into the entrepreneurship was an accident. And from an engineer to full-time entrepreneurship. But there were some planned steps which I took from while I was working. For example, I was working in a 100,000 headcount employees. I came down to 100 headcount. And again, I came down to 50 headcount just to explore how they actually work on the ground level. When you are in a much big organization, you might not get exposed to what is happening on the other side of the organization. But when you are in a much smaller organization, you have much bigger picture. And you might even get the chance to get into multiple things. So there was some initial step for scaling down this kind of organizations while selecting the career. That was an planned step. But what happened is when you become certain, for example, if you cross around 10 plus, you naturally become a manager. You are managing multiple people. So the key part is actually when you are managing people, you are not actually doing any technical job there. You are just mentoring people, more dividing their work, monitoring them.
Being there
And make sure that these guys are actually focused and they are delivering and with what his customer is asking for. And this is a long-term process. This is a completely new world for anybody who's moving towards manager. So I learned that in hard way because most of the guys who are in the technology world is learning this in hard way because until and unless you're going to face this, you're not something that nobody is going to help you. You can read some book, but it might not work in the based on situation. Every situation is unique because, for example, if a customer is too demanding, you have to deal with accordingly. So if a customer is not demanding, he's not looking for anybody, you have to push it. So based on situation, you have to align your team to respond accordingly. And also make sure that your team's morale is always at certain level so that they will be with you. They are ready to work with you. And over the time, I learned this fact. Then I'm almost 4 or 5 years, I became full-time manager. Then I'm managing multiple projects, multiple accounts. Then I have an opportunity to start something new from scratch for a product development. So there was an external funding actually came. So then I started on my own. And it went up to 3 or 4 years. Then the product did not go anywhere, so I have to close it down. Again, I have to come back to regular job. But the experience on those level, again, pushing me to get to the next level. So that's why, because even you are getting into a job with this experience, you are going to deliver excellence because this experience only comes from entrepreneurship. You won't get it from a job. So then again, I can get back to the entrepreneurship, and that's where actually Elixr Labs comes in. And now it is almost 4.5 years. And now we are 120 plus.
Elixr Labs, just the employees.
Yes, we have employees from almost from 12 states in India. So managing this multicultural, multi-language, and this environment is very tricky.
And also the generations are becoming different.
Yes.
So we have different generations working.
Yes. So there are millennials, there are Gen Y, Gen X,
Zs.
Gen Z. So you have all these people in your team. And you cannot have a single process for everyone. It's not going to work. And because, for example, in recent days, people are not looking at the Facebook. Only back in millennials, they're looking at the Facebook. and most people are more spending more time on Instagram. And now,
more and more platforms are
yes,
coming up,
platform.
Reddit and
I mean, it's
everything.
based on generations. These platforms are getting changed. So if you want to accommodate something with this wide range, it is going to be very tricky. So you have to be with them, try to understand their pulse, and work with them. And motivating these people is again tricky because, for example, back in the generation 2000 and 1990, people who were born in before 90 or 2000, they're morely focused on because their economic situation in country that was not that time it was not that great because they know what is something, what does it feel like you don't have anything. Now, if you have coming back to after 2000, this generation actually born brought up in a situation where the economic condition of the country is getting improved. Their parents
Better,
already
it is
have
better.
better facilities than the previous generation.
And they have all this technological.
And their needs and their requirements are completely different.
Yes.
And you cannot treat these two generations the same way. So that's the tricky part I learned in over the first 5 or 6 years. And that is helping me in every day.
Leading multiple different kind of people.
Yeah, I think we are working with the different language, we are different race, different geographical. I mean, this is going to help us because every day the generation is different. If you understand what that generation is based on, it's easy to work with. For example, if you're talking to someone in the Western country, they without any context, they won't even start the conversation. But if you look at ours, especially on the southern part of India, people will start talking to you without even any context, like jumping into the road. So I think this kind of communication again is aligned to the culture you are actually dealing with.
Cultural differences also matters a lot when it comes to people management. Yes. Being an entrepreneur, what is that core skill that helped you in building this business?
I think the critical skills anybody, any manager or leader is need is for how to build a successful team.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have a team, you are not going to succeed. And motivating, I mean, there are a lot of ingredients of building that. Over the time, you will learn, okay, there is some way you can build this and you can repeat it. Every time you can repeat it. So over the time, I built my own process. I refined it. And even now, I'm getting it refined. So now I'm in a position I can scale it. For example, we are operating 4 offices in India. Sitting in one location, running these offices is not going to happen. So I need a team. They are self-motivated, self-focused, self-managed, and they can be able to deliver. And they know they looking up. They won't look up to you if you are not there. They know how to manage it. I mean, building those kind of team is going to be key. If you don't have that skill, don't go for entrepreneurship. It's going to fail because you will end up as doing everything, and you will not have any time you will not have any time. You will be completely on operation focus. You won't get any time to focus on your scaling your business, and it is going to collapse.
Yes. So regarding the time, so how do you manage that time being a CEO of such an organization? You mentioned a lot of people are working under you. So
first thing is time management is a key skill you need to learn, and especially when being brought up and lived in this part of the country, that's the last thing you will learn, time management. Because people mean to rush. If you are getting into the road, everybody want to rush into the line, and there's no. I mean, that's a cultural difference. But if you go to Western, right, and they value their time. For example, they are doing their job for 8 hours. They will give 100%, but they will not do anything after that 8 hours. They will spend that rest of the time with their family, whatever they want to do, because they focus on their time management. Okay, they don't go, but we don't have that time. We'll come late to the office. We'll leave late to the office, and we'll screw up our family time. And at the end of the day, you will get frustrated. That will affect your work, and also it will affect your colleagues who are going to work with you, and you will end up with pushing your work towards weekend, and the customer will get frustrated because of the quality of work, and a lot of things get into it. If you start fixing the time management very beginning, then everything will fall in place. Because, for example, usually for Elixr, when we do even a small event, we will ask for 2 weeks lead time. We'll not do anything without 2 weeks, because that's the minimum time somebody need to time and think and execute. Because if you're doing something, there are a lot of things where it goes in sideways. You need to think what are the things is going to be sideways. That's your risk management. If you don't have risk management, it's a higher chance that it's going to fail. It is applicable for any business. So time management for me, I think I started this management when I get into the management role. Because when I started working with the people on Western side, I have been there in multiple countries. So I learned it because the importance, how important they value that time. Because they feel like if you are coming late to 1 minute to office, that's a crime. Because you logged other person's 1 minute and you are actually wasting it. So first thing in Elixr, nobody will come to office. Nobody will get into the meeting without late. If they are getting late, other person will know that this person is not coming to that meeting. So we will make sure that these are the basic checkpoints is done. Okay. So whenever I talking to someone, this is the first point. If you are locking my time, make sure it's going to benefit both of us. Otherwise, don't lock it. And because meeting should have an agenda. If you don't have an agenda, don't go for a meeting. And meeting should have an action item. If you don't have an action item, that meeting is useless. So this way, if you start actually motivating your people, you will get a lot of time in your space. Unnecessarily, you will go on dragged into things, and people get prepared for anything they're going to do. And I used to give the same advice to people who work with me, but this is going to be difficult to manage. For example, it is okay if you manage your work colleagues, and how about family? How you manage them? Because how you manage your kids, how you manage your day-to-day activities. Because that's where actually most of the guys are getting stuck while managed. Because again, you will look at things, prioritize things. For example, let's say that 100 things you are doing at home. Okay, how many of things that really required your presence? If you shortlist that item, it will become a very small number. If you start working on that number, other things will go off immediately. So this way you start able to manage this.
So basically, we'll have to organize how we are going to work, how we are going to spend some time with
it's not about work, right? Inside and outside work. Okay. So make sure, for example, if you are planning to do some extra activities, make sure you put the space in your calendar for that. For example, if you want to go for a lunch, put a space that in the calendar. It's not optional you go for a lunch. You go for a lunch at regular time. Because that is a social event when you go out for a lunch, talking to someone. Lock it always.
It takes time.
And give it only exceptional places where you overlap with that. So these are the basic checkpoints. If you start doing it, automatically things will fall in place.
So please tell me more about Elixr Labs. So what is the vision and mission of Elixr Labs?
We primarily focusing on the healthcare sector, where we are trying to improve operational efficiency of the care team, those who are actually directly dealing with the patients. And the products and tools we are actually on it is focused on this area, is on the care team. That means we are dealing with direct patient experience. So how many of times you felt that I have spent almost 3 or 4 hours in the hospital and it was not even worth my time. It's wasting because you are sitting and waiting for something. These are actually operational issues. Okay,
they have to take some time to find the file and come back.
Yes, a lot of things. The schedule with the doctor's appointment, you're waiting there and doctor is not arrived, even somewhere else. And a lot of things would happen. Even your diagnosing information is missing. For example, your lab results are not at arrived. You are waiting for it and coming back again. And this is back-to-back process. And if you bring this into an informed system and connect all the players together, then it can save a lot of time. For example, doctors can receive this information as soon as it arrives. For example, there is a notification from the lab, so that they will send the consultation team that says, okay, this is arrived, I need to meet the patient. By the time you will be ready to go and meet the doctor. And all those information can be handled because through a efficient communication system. That's where our main focus is, communication platform. Because in a large hospital where thousands of beds, you will end up with almost 200,000, 300,000 users at an active. And that's a lot of people and moving around one space. And there will be a lot of communications happening between, and you won't even sure that whether the other person receive it. For example, doctor is emergency leave. You never know that person is left unless the admin tell you that person is left. But you will be waiting for that person for a while. These kind of common issues actually causing this problem. But when you have a proper communication system in place, this can be handled. That's where actually our products actually coming into. And our vision is there will be a lot of use cases in healthcare which can be improved, because that's the next generation of healthcare. That's we are trying to get into. So modernizing the hospitals, patient experience. Though, because now you see that the hospitals are getting bigger. The hospitals have become hospital chains, and there's become a healthy competition between big players. So how you distinguish between hospital A and hospital B for as a patient, which you will select based on your care and based on your experience.
Experience.
So everybody is trying to improve their experience. So that is a next generation of hospital is going to deal with it. So hopefully we'll all having a better healthcare experience in future. But it is already taken care in countries like in US. But that is bringing into other parts of the country. We are trying to bring this technology to this
To
region.
everywhere.
Yes.
To bring that patient experience to everywhere. So
yes, rest of the world. Yes.
that is incredible. So, how are you going to? Are you planning to revolutionize the healthcare system? Would you call that term?
Yeah, basically, it's going to be next generation. Let's say that we have 2G, now we have 5G. So it's the next generation of hospital system where there's an informed system. Unless you're going to tell something, the other person will know that you are going for this. Okay, and this kind of informed systems is coming into place. So there's not much manual process in place. So that everybody is will be notified advance at what is going on, what is going to happen. And since the introduction of AI, because a lot of diagnosis can be done without even have patient is around, and that is going to change a lot of time. I mean, the way the physician is going to interact with the patient, how the patient is going to interact with the hospital is going to be getting changed.
Robotic surgeries are also going in place right now. So everything that can be, we can actually save a lot of time and save a lot of people's lives also if we get to implement this, right?
Yes. I mean, for healthcare, especially on the patient care system, the most critical element is the time. How much time you have. For example, depends upon the criticality of patient.
Exactly.
How fast they can get diagnosed. Based on that, the life can be saved. This can be life of a person. And as an example of this stroke. A typical stroke will take.
We need immediate care.
If that does not get the injection on time, because first they need to diagnose whether it is a stroke or not. So it will take at least 20 to 30 minutes for that scanning and all. The normal hospitals, it will be too late. And for we have using this system, we bring down to 9 minutes. So that's the time frame we actually managed to, and this is definitely going to save people time and their life.
Exactly. Mentioning about healthcare systems, how are we scaling this business to a global level? How are you planning to do that?
Yeah, I think since healthcare is a regulated market, this is a tricky part. Okay, because each market is having their own compliance standards, how it is processing the data security, and how each these kind of products is getting certified. Okay, and how we can install or maintain infrastructure in those countries, because it's all changed. And unfortunately, the IT infrastructure is rapidly changing towards cloud, which is not very friendly with my healthcare. Okay, because there are a couple of issues. For example, cloud system is a centralized system where the computing is stored in one place and all other users actually connected to it, and they were getting served instead of using a offline computer. This is going to be a completely centralized system. But in healthcare, where this centralized system is located, that matters. Okay, you cannot have a system installed in US and use it from India. That is not legally, it is not valid. It is illegal. Because the patient information and the patient information is a public information, citizen information, should not leave the country at any cost. That's a basic requirement. That means if you are operating in 10 countries, you will end up with operating 10 different data centers. That is a nightmare for a cloud-based system. And that is a problem we are facing now. Okay. And this is a problem for any healthcare system, because the previous generation was completely offline, where you install the software within the hospital and they maintain everything. That is a very clean solution. We don't need to care about it, because
it's just internal. It's not
internal. So previous generation was working, but it's very hard to maintain. For example, in case of a hospital chain, okay, to get an IT security or clearance for a particular new installation, it might take months. Okay, that means we have to hold or update for months. If it's critical update, it will take at least a month to roll it out. And we have faced this problem. On top of that, because of this delay in the rolling out the updates, I mean, customers will end up with different versions. And as a provider, we are forced to maintain these versions. This is an overhead cost. Okay, when you are moving towards cloud, this is a single version is running for all the clients. That is a ideal topology. But here we have to scale it to different region. For example, if you are operating 5 countries, 5 data centers, and if country does not have data centers, you have to find alternatives. We are facing all these challenges, and it adds a lot of cost in terms of infrastructure and monitoring and maintenance. And we have to have our local teams for all these countries because data still reside in that location. And I mean, small countries like Jordan, and they don't have enough infrastructure. They're relying on neighboring country like Saudi. And the problem we face is even if you're ready to install this in the local infrastructure, but still they don't have enough supportive because this volume is very small. Because of that reason, we are not able to get into that market, even though there is a demand. So these kind of challenges we are facing because this kind of tools and the cloud-based solutions mainly focus on large hospitals. And in small countries, large hospital system is very hard to find.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so
why
we need a lot of
yes.
beds or a lot of people
Yes.
who is.
That's why healthcare systems are so expensive. And in many of the regions, if you are, for example, if there are main players like GE, Philips, and all, their tools and technology are very expensive because of this reason. Because the initial investment is very high.
So, what is the story behind? I heard about Elixr Studios. So, what is that? The story behind the creative business like Elixr Studios?
So, I mean, if you look backward towards Elixr, and we have seen that we can see that we are very active in branding. Okay, for any fresh brand, and we are getting into the market, you will face a couple of issues. That, for example, the brand is not familiar, your products won't sell. You won't able to have the talents. These are the basic problems we are going to face. We are also not different. We have faced the same problem. And since beginning after 6 months starting Elixr, we had ended up with 0 joining because of this problem. Because the shortlisted engineers are all from leading organizations. Why they should join us? That is the basic question we need to answer it. But we cannot do this by one-to-one, right? We have to broadcast this information. That's where the branding started. So we work with many vendors, many organizations, and we have found challenges that are mainly focused on not on corporate levels. They focus on typical digital media marketing, but that won't work in this way. Because what I have realized that there is no such organization is really going to help in this space. Because those who understand the entrepreneur problem, trying to solve that problem using digital platform does not exist. That's what I felt. Then we ended up with trying different individual contractors. Then we started hiring our own. Then marketing team, everything. Then we set up our own team. Okay. Then we started building it. From the last 4 years, we are doing the same thing. Then we thought, okay, this is going to be a new business model. It can be used for anyone in the same space. That's why we separated out. Now it is Elixr Studio. Now we have full creamed team done. They're also doing the creative films and all. So their objective is now widening now. It's not only just branding. But at the same time, in terms of Elixr Labs backbone branding, it is Elixr Studios.
Okay, so building the brand through the marketing is what we look forward from Elixr Studios.
Basically, this is going to help us in any region, not only us, also the customers, the partners who don't have the teams. We are already doing it because we will showcase their capability in that region using our platform.
With the corporate,
Yes.
we are more aligned to how corporate works.
Yes, and more aligned to corporate work, but we have also started the public digital platform medias. Okay, and recently we have built a web series, and that is getting quite popular now. And This is because, see, why? Because there are a lot of elements in the creative business. There is a VFX, there is a creative building, creative contents, there is a marketing and publishing part. I mean, now we have the full teams done. We are trying to explore more and more opportunities. But again, this is model. I think if you have the full team is done within under one roof, it's much easier to handle, and also you can keep the budgets much within the range. That's something very hard to find, especially in this region.
So, what is your advice to the engineers who want to excel in their careers and in people management or entrepreneurship?
First thing, the engineer need to, I mean, most of the guys will do anyway. So getting noticed, your work is getting noticed. And there are two levels of reputation. One is internal reputation, one is external reputation. Internal reputation stays only as long as you stay in that organization. Okay? Let's say that you stayed for an organization for 5 years, you become a top performer for that organization. When you move out to a new organization, ground zero, back to zero. Nobody is going to acknowledge that you actually got an excellent performer in that organization, because the new organization will treat you as a fresher, ground zero, no, zero trust. How do you fix that? That's the first problem. Okay, 99% of people won't think about that, because maintaining your reputation in an industry, that's a key part. So you have to step out from your organization, work on the community level, and make sure that you have enough reputation in the community level, irrespective of your job, because your career and the job is two different levels. I mean, if you don't build a focus on your career, it will stay there, and finally it will get obsolete. You will become obsolete, you will lose the job, you won't get enough opportunity based on your requirement. A lot of things will happen. That's what I have seen in many of people actually cross 10 or 15 years. They struggle to move forward because they lose that vision. Because staying in long time in a single job let you into a typical process where there is no innovation. And the other important aspect is how you sell yourself outside your organization. And from my perspective, where I was mostly engaged in communities, especially on Microsoft communities, where actually I had opportunity to work with developers across the world. Then I came to know their level of knowledge and delivery of quality of delivery they have, level of communication they have. That is totally different from your environment. You won't get that exposure until you go for it. When you stay in your particular environment, even if you are a top performer, there is a world outside you. When you go and compete with that world, you won't even get a chance. Okay, that's something need to be changed. When you are because an IT engineer is always a global professional. They're always targeting for international market. If you want to do that, get out from your workspace, start working on the community. And when you grow in a career, let's say that 10 years or 10 years, start investing time on building your soft skills. Soft skills, for example, how you communicate. Communication is not about English. Communication is conveying something to someone, make sure that they understand. So there is a communication part, there is an acknowledgement part. So if both works, then only the communication will exist. And majority of problems now see with the engineers coming out from different colleges, or even from the senior guys who already existed, they struggle to communicate. For example, when you start a conversation, there is no context. And Western people, they don't understand what you're talking about. It's not about English. They don't understand the context. And if you not doing that purposefully, they will never understand that this person is capable of doing communication. Even you have the the technical skill, they will reject you. Majority of rejection we see from Western people is based on their communication skills. Because if you don't communicate to someone, you don't fit for a team. That person will become a liability. Yes, that person is become a liability. For example, you have the skills, but you don't have the communication skill. Obviously, you will end up with not asking question when you are supposed to. That will lead into problem.
So the problem lies in communication also. So even if we know the technical skills, the communication is the major part where you can build your career, right?
Definitely, yes. Even if you are in a management role, if you don't have enough communication skill, when you are in a bigger crowd, you will not have enough confidence to ask right questions. Even you are 100% sure, you will not ask that question. That will lead into problems, and others will think that incapability of handling the situation. Okay, and I have seen that people who are excellent in the technical capabilities, they hesitate to speak in a crowd because they think that their English is so poor that they will not communicate the other person. But the other person is looking for any input from you. He know that you are not an English person. Okay, you are from India. He understands that, and he is ready to accept the mistakes. But we are not ready to do that. I don't understand that logic behind it. We are stuck in that loop. I mean, especially people from the south is stuck in that loop.
We always want to keep
Make
it
it
like
perfect. Yes.
perfect. That that person is going to judge us. That's what they are thinking. So that might be the issue which is going on right now.
But that is not the case in other part of India, especially on northern side. I mean, especially the people from northeast. Okay, they are very active, even though they don't know what is the reason behind. They will ask you the question, and this way you will get an impression that they are very proactive, and those people get in the front.
It has a cultural
Yes.
aspect also.
Yes.
Depending on the region, people.
Yeah, I think the main problem is how society look at these people. Okay, people, because that will bring down their confidence. When you are in a larger crowd, even they are actually online. They are not. You are not seeing the person face to face, right? They won't speak.
It's really tough.
I don't know how many of them are ready to record their own voice and hear it back.
So it is more like our cultural thing which is stamping us back. So we'll have to fight against it in order
you will
to
fight only if you have a strong purpose. Otherwise, you won't fight.
Exactly.
If you
So
have everything
better
settled,
career,
yes,
you better go and communicate.
if you are settled with something, definitely you won't fight.
But if we want to fight, we can definitely achieve it.
And my personal advice is don't settle yourself on something more than 2 years. If you do that, then you will be there forever.
So it was an insightful conversation which I had with you today, Mr. Binu. And I'm really happy that I could speak with you regarding all these things. Your leadership, it is really moving, and I really look upon you how you could be a great leader and how I would be in the future. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay.
And
thank you.
You're welcome.